Arsenal have drawn once again, as Jean-Philippe Mateta scored a banger to inflict Arsenal's 13th draw of the season. So today we'll discuss what we learned from this game, as well as getting a massive update on the future of Thomas Partey. We'll find out what's happening with Bukayo Saka, as well as an update on Mikel Merino. Yo, what is going on, guys? My name is Basketball T and welcome back to your boys channel to FC Draw yet again, with some breaking news to break down as well. So as per, smash a like on this video if you enjoy and subscribe to the channel if you are new. But starting off with what we learned from Arsenal 2, Crystal Palace 2. Having just beat Ipswich 4-0, the high of Real Madrid. Come this game here, once again Mikel Arteta rotating, with a front three of Sterling, Martinelli and Trossard. Saka on the bench, Merino and Ben White both not involved, against a side that Arsenal are 5 games unbeaten against, having beaten them 5-1 earlier in the season. This was really a poor performance, as Arsenal drew their 30th game of the 34 games, drawing nearly 40% of their season, only behind Everton in terms of the most draws in the league. Arsenal have now dropped 18 points winning positions in the Premier League this season, more than the last 2 seasons combined. And the reason why I think the performance was poor, when you look at the XG of Arsenal's 1.4 to Crystal Palace's 2.1, it tells you a story of defensive frailty, an area in which Arsenal have been so strong this season. In this game for me, Arsenal were way too open, with Crystal Palace firing balls in behind. In the first half, they could have easily scored a couple. Trossard's goal was fantastic and likewise Kivior's, but when you think about the overall game state itself, yes, Palace might have scored off an Arsenal mistake, but for me a draw is the least they deserved. So let's talk about the Arsenal captain Martin Odegaard. After making it 2 assists in 2 games, overtaking Patrick Vieira for Arsenal goal involvement, Odegaard dropped a 7.0 rating, with 1 assist, 2 key passes, 1 big chance created, as well as 2 shots blocked. With Jamie Carragher saying after the game, Martin Odegaard is almost on the same level as Kevin De Bruyne. In terms of the Arsenal fan base, it was quite a mixed reaction. Some fans seeing what Odegaard does best, dropping deeper, dictating play, but after getting bodied by Mateta for the second Palace goal, there was a lot of huffing and puffing, a few good skills as well. But to be the level of Kevin De Bruyne, for me, you have to have more final third impact. Despite Odegaard trying to fire balls in behind, when it comes to that final pass, Odegaard's got specific types. We're talking more through balls across the ground, whereas PKDB was a lot more about elite crosses from the half spaces. Odegaard is creative in his own way, but with only 2 goals and 6 assists this season, 11 big chances created. I wonder what's going to happen going forward. With a potential rival of Martin Zubimendi, when you've got Thomas Partey, you've got Declan Rice, the build-up phase will be sorted. So when you think to the quotes of Mikel Arteta, asking Odegaard to score more goals, having talked about in the last video the potential impact of his injury early in the season, whether it's that or the fact that he needs surgery or the fact that he needs to improve. For me, one thing is certain going into next season. For Martin Odegaard to be the same level of Bukayo Saka, he needs to up his output. Then you had the performance of Gabriel Martinelli, as he dropped a 6.9 rating, with 2 shots on goal, 0 successful dribbles, 1 key pass and 1 big chance created. I wouldn't say it was a horrendous performance, but it also wasn't amazing. Yes, he might have scored a goal that could have counted, but in the 91st minute, played it behind with a lovely throw from Kieran Tierney. We saw one of Martinelli's biggest weaknesses, his decision making. Head down running towards the goal, unable to spot Bukayo Saka who was in for a tap-in, despite a fantastic goal against Real Madrid and all the hard work he does off the ball. When it comes to 1v1 quality taking on his man, in the Premier League he is only behind Alejandro Garnacho for the worst dribble success rate of 60 plus dribbles attempted, alongside the likes of Garnacho, Neto, Alanga and Harrison. Players that all have one very big similarity: they are head-down dribblers, unable to see the bigger picture because they're so focused on the ball. You then compare that to Bukayo Saka, a player who's far more unpredictable, and it starts to make sense to why Arsenal do want a brand new left winger this summer. Someone like a Nico Williams, who might not be a goal machine, but when it comes to 1v1 quality, as you can see by his FPREF, he is one of the best carriers in the final third in the world. But in a game that Arsenal had the lead but cost themselves, it was William Saliba who made the massive error, dropping a 6.7 rating, 5 clearances, 2 block shots, 2 interceptions and 2 tackles, all tainted by one massive error led to a goal. That despite having 179 touches, 162 passes completed, first Real Madrid, now Crystal Palace. For me, I don't have a massive concern going forwards, and the reason behind that being, I think Saliba struggles under low pressure environments. You think about the game at the Bernabeu, Arsenal have just scored and gone 4-0 up. As soon as the game became simple, Saliba made the mistake. Then you think about this game here where Liverpool all but set to win the Premier League title, in a game that Arsenal had to win, despite no stake of winning the title, and we once again saw another Saliba mistake. But at 24 years of age, as great as we see the player, we can't forget that in terms of centre-backs, the best in the world are normally the more experienced. You think about Gabriel Magalhaes a couple seasons ago, before entering the peak of his powers, he was also prone to making mistakes. A major part of centre-backs is experience, and Saliba would definitely learn. But in what's been a weird few weeks for Arsenal fans, drawing Brentford and beating Real Madrid again, and now drawing Crystal Palace, for this Arsenal team to function at their very best, they need to have pressure on the line. they seem to need to have something to play for. But in terms of our star performer today, it has to be Jakub Kiwior, who dropped an 8.1 rating, scoring his first goal of the season with 6 clearances, 2 block shots and 1 tackle, 2 out of 2 ground balls won, 114 passes completed. Having stepped up against Real Madrid, having now gone 21 games unbeaten, when starting alongside William Saliba, his goal was fantastic but likewise defensively, with a sublime block on Eddie Nketiah. It just goes to show how players can improve when they are given rhythm. Just like last season, as soon as Kiwior was given consistent starts, his game slowly improved. And we have to realise being a backup player isn't easy, with the starters allowed to constantly gain momentum. When you're coming off the bench, you don't have that same opportunity, especially as centre-back where you have to be so consistent and so perfect. We are finally seeing Kiwior rise. Regardless though, it doesn't matter, but as Arsenal drop points for the 6th time in the last 9 games, it leaves Arsenal on 67 points, 12 points off first place Liverpool, who are now a point away from winning the title. And when you then think about the last few weeks, draws to Everton, Brentford and now Crystal Palace, the Arsenal players have been inconsistent, with Mikel Arteta making massive changes, all the focus on the Champions League. Despite being Ipswich's 4 goals to nil, with their manager Kieran McKenna saying Arsenal is the highest standard we have faced all year, the stats themselves do not look amazing. With 9 of our 13 draws coming in games that we were leading, that's 2 more than any other side, and the most by any team in a single season since Spurs in 2007-8. That is a disgusting stat. And what it shows us is the bigger picture. For an Arsenal team that don't have a single player with over 10 league goals this season, having scored 12 goals less than Liverpool, where they have worked to find margins in their favour, whenever Arsenal have found themselves in a tough position, we haven't been able to go and find that goal. From Fulham all the way back in December, to the recent games against United and Forest, it makes the mission going into next year very clear. In the summer where Arsenal will have major investment, the forward line needs to improve. So as Victor Gyökeres scored for Sporting Lisbon once again, having also got an assist, that is on 16 goal involvements in his last 9 games, goals in his last 47 games, with an insane 72 goal contributions in 53 games this season. There's a reason why Andrea Berta is pushing, whether Gyökeres, Sesko or Isak. As much as the Arsenal players have been chipping in with an elite centre forward next season, the goal is to turn all our 13 draws somehow into wins. Moving on to Arsenal's brand new deals. In a game that we saw Thomas Partey start once again, before the game there was a major development regarding his future. Set to become a free agent at the end of the season, the likes of Atletico and Barca both after. According to David Ornstein, Arsenal want to keep Thomas Partey at the club and are now in talks about a new deal. Partey would be open to an improved 2-year agreement or a 1-year deal plus 12-month option. However, he will also consider alternative options in case a deal cannot be struck. With even Fabrizio Romano confirming, Arsenal are in discussions with Thomas Partey's camp over a new deal, as Mikel Arteta is keen on keeping him. No agreement yet, but talks are ongoing, as Partey has more options available. While Jorginho is expected to leave, Thomas Partey could stay. The first bit of clarity we've got in a very long time confirmed reports that Arsenal are trying to keep Thomas Partey, and the man behind that could be Arsenal's brand new sporting director. Conversations are ongoing as to whether Arsenal offer Thomas Partey a new contract. According to a well-placed source, Andrea Berta's arrival as sporting director has provided an alternative outlook as to whether Partey could have a future beyond this season, which makes a lot of sense historically. Having worked with Partey all the way back at Atletico, not only is Berta a massive fan of the player, but it also could be about Arsenal's priorities. In the summer, we're going to invest a lot going forwards. A striker, a wide forward, with even David Ornstein confirming Arsenal are acting internally as if the Martin Zubimendi deal is a done deal, with Arsenal also in the race for Dean Huijsen. Jorginho is leaving as a free agent. Flamengo have already presented a proposal for the player to sign him on a free transfer, a player that had not missed a single game through injury since 2021, who after being taken off against Brentford, according to Mikel Arteta, his injury is a scary situation. And while he hopes the player will be back for the end of the season, him completely being silent for the remainder is a possibility. The injury curse at Arsenal even has hurt Jorginho, but what it also shows is the major change that we're going to see. Losing the experience of a player like Jorginho has maybe made Berta look towards Partey, maybe as a squad player next season, to help Zubimendi settle in. Having started so many games this year and shown his quality, Partey is still a useful player, but there's also a concern in terms of wages, with reports claiming that Partey wants an improved deal, despite already earning £200,000 a week. If Arsenal are going to sign Zubimendi, you might have Gyökeres as well. Giving a pay rise to a player doesn't seem like a wise move, but for me his quality is still undeniable. Despite Rice able to play as a 6, Partey's ability to break the lines and go forwards is a unique attribute on the current market. So let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Does Thomas Partey deserve an improved brand new contract? Because in terms of the brand new deals, you also might have another massive one. As according to the reliable hand of Arsenal are progressing very well in talks to extend the contract of Bukayo Saka. The Arsenal talisman is set to become the highest paid player at the club, reportedly set to earn £300,000 a week for a player that has reached a brand new level this season, despite missing 3 months, with over 20 goal contributions, week in week out, having teared apart Real Madrid. If anything, his injury was a bit of a realization, not only showing how important Bukayo Saka is, but but the fact that he's clearly our best attacker. So when you've got Kai Havertz earning 290 grand a week, Gabriel Jesus 280, it makes sense for Arsenal to reward Bukayo. Giving Saka the contract makes so much sense, with reports claiming that Andrea Berta is working hard behind the scenes, taking charge to get a deal done. And let's just say Saka isn't the only player, as according to Hand of Arsenal, both Ethan Nwaneri and Miles Skelly are in the final stages of agreeing new long-term contracts at Arsenal. Andrea Berta is concluding the final details before officially announcing it. Long-term deals for both Hell End stars will be sorted, with more reports regarding another Arsenal youngster. According to Simon Collins, Arsenal goalkeeper Alexia Rojas has signed a new contract until 2026, as Arsenal often use 4 goalkeepers during training sessions. Andrea Berta has been a busy man, with all the focus going into the summer, a major chance for him to prove himself. He's also going to have a bit of a dilemma, with Arsenal looking for a brand new backup goalkeeper, as Neto is set to leave, having let Ramsdale go at the start of the season. The target of course was Joan Garcia, with even Fabrizio Romano saying all the way back in the summer, Arsenal had made a €20 million offer for a player that has excelled even more this season. Having dropped 3 man of the match performances in a row, he is also the #1 goalkeeper in all of La Liga for goals prevented this season, miles ahead of anyone else, with a whopping 7.3. Let's just say his recent form has been absurd. A goalkeeper still 23 years of age, seen as the future of Spanish football. That's what you have to think about Arsenal. When you've already got David Raya, one of the best goalkeepers in the Premier League, he might not always be perfect, but he's still so reliable. Do you then spend £25 million on a backup goalkeeper for a player that's also highly in demand? The likes of Barcelona and Man City also interested. The question then falls to the player himself. Are you willing to come to Arsenal and be a number 2, or go somewhere else and be a #1 straight away? But for now, Arsenal have bigger fish to fry, as a trip to Paris Saint-Germain with a Champions League semi-final on the horizon. Luis Enrique's PSG coming to the Emirates Stadium for a team that is now 39 away games unbeaten, the longest unbeaten away run in the history of Europe's top 5 league, breaking a record set by AC Milan back in 1993. With a major team list going into it, how is Mikel Arteta going to line up? All focused on Mikel Merino, a player that wasn't on the bench against Crystal Palace, with other reports claiming the player was likely being rested. Both Merino and Ben White could not be involved. If not, they would have been. Unfortunately, after the game against Ipswich, we had some issues and they were not fit. With no Thomas Partey available for the first leg, having Merino available is going to be gargantuan, with the potential of Rice starting as a 6, alongside Merino and Odegaard, with a front 3 of Trossard, Saka and Martinelli. The league title might be over, but the Champions League gives us some final hope. But that is the video there and there, so hopefully you guys have enjoyed. If you have, don't forget to smash a like and also subscribe to the channel if you are new. If you want to follow your boy on all of his social medias, the links are down below in the description. But that was the 5 things we learned from Arsenal to Crystal Palace to Liverpool. Congratulations, my friends. You deserve the title, but now for us, we're going to have to focus on the Champions League, because you know what, Arsenal fans, for all the doom and gloom, we're 3 wins away from our first ever Champions League. So my friends, I'll see you guys next time. Take care of yourselves and